If I'd just stayed home that night, I wouldn't still hear the announcements in my sleep. It started with a stupid idea, like most of them do. I was the one who said we should break into Millfield Elementary. I had this mural I'd been sketching for weeks, a twisted tree sprouting out of a cracked open textbook, branches made of rulers and pencils stabbing through a chalkboard sky. My friend Jace said it looked like a nightmare. That's exactly what I wanted. "You're seriously gonna tag a dead school?" Marcy had asked, raising one perfectly waxed brow as we stood outside the rusted fence. Her flashlight was already flickering like it had second thoughts. "I'm gonna tag history," I told her. "They're tearing it down next month. If we don't do it now, it's just gone." Jace grinned, adjusting his backpack full of paint cans. "Let's go out legends then." In and out, quick hit. The school loomed like a corpse in the moonlight, all jagged shadows and broken windows. Millfield had been shut down years ago. Something about asbestos and budget cuts. But everyone in town remembered the place. It was where our older siblings went, before they bulldozed every memory of it into rumor and weeds. Getting in wasn't hard. Jay slipped through a busted window near the gym, then helped Marcy and me climb through. The air inside was heavier than outside, like we were breathing through cloth. Dust swirled in our flashlight beams, glittering like rot. My boots crunched over shattered glass and peeled up floor tiles. "Smells like piss and pencils," Jace muttered. "Gross," Marcy snapped. "Let's not hang around." But I was already walking ahead, flashlight aimed at the lockers, some still decorated with peeling stickers. We passed a bulletin board still stapled with construction paper cutouts of paper apples and name tags. Most of them were blank. "Where do you want to paint it?" Jace asked. "The auditorium," I said. "Biggest wall in the school." We moved slowly, our footsteps echoing too loud in the abandoned hallways. Half the rooms were still full. Desks in neat rows, ancient lesson plans on the whiteboards. Some spelling tests still clipped to walls. There was a weird kind of preservation to the place, like it hadn't been shut down. Just paused. That was when we heard it. A soft pop of static, crackling through the empty air like a flickering ghost. Then a cheerful, mechanical voice came through an unseen intercom. "Good morning, students." We all stopped. I felt my stomach dip, like an elevator lurching. "What the hell was that?" Marcy whispered. "It's probably just leftover wiring," Jace said, though his voice wavered. The speaker buzzed again. "Today is Tuesday. Don't forget to bring your best attitude and follow the rules. Remember, good students are always on time." Silence followed. Then a dull ringing, a school bell. "That shouldn't work," Marcy muttered. "Power's been out for years." "Weird prank setup, maybe? Like a haunted house thing?" Jace offered. But I wasn't so sure. There were no motion sensors, no wires that we could see, just old, dead school walls and the lingering echo of that bizarre, cheerful voice. Still, I didn't want to chicken out in front of them, so I pushed us forward. "Auditorium's this way. Come on." We walked in silence, but the mood had shifted. Every creak of the floor made us jump. Every flicker of our flashlights felt like a warning. The door to the auditorium was closed. I reached for the handle, but just before I touched it, the intercom popped again. "Attendance is important. Missing students will be marked absent." Then it cut out. I turned to the others. No one said anything. We just looked at each other, pretending not to be scared. Pretending this was still just a dumb night adventure. I wish I had listened to that feeling crawling under my skin. Because that night, Millfield wasn't empty, and the announcements had only just begun. The auditorium groaned as we stepped inside, like the building exhaled us into its lungs. The air smelled stale, thick with mildew, and something sweeter underneath, like rotting fruit. Our flashlights scanned across a wide stage with a drawn red curtain and rows of crumbling seats. My fingers itched for the spray can in my hoodie pocket, but I couldn't shake what the intercom had just said. Missing students will be marked absent. We stepped down the aisle slowly, our footsteps muffled by old carpet. I picked a spot along the back wall, a blank, peeling surface just begging to be claimed. I set down my bag, unzipped it, and shook a can. The metallic rattle echoed too loud in the silence. "Damn," Jace whispered. "Feels like church in here." "A haunted one," Marcy muttered. I popped the cap and started outlining the tree. My hand moved fast, familiar, like muscle memory could block out the unease. The hiss of paint calmed me a little. That's when it happened again. Click. Fzzz. "Tardiness is a violation," said the voice. Closer now, clearer. I froze. The can sputtered in my hand. "Today's lunch is meatloaf and mashed regret." Jace let out a short, nervous laugh. "All right, that's not normal." "No crap," Marcy hissed. "That speaker wasn't on a second ago." I turned to the wall. A speaker grill above the curtain was lit faintly red. It shouldn't have power. None of this should. Then the voice said something new. "Elliot Harper is late." The name hung in the air like smoke. None of us spoke. "Who the hell is Elliot?" Jace asked, voice low. Marcy walked slowly toward the stage, her flashlight sweeping along the dusty boards. She stopped at something half hidden behind a stack of broken music stands. "Guys." We climbed up beside her. She was holding a torn piece of paper, a faded class photo, like one they used to hang in hallways. Most of the kids were smiling in matching polo shirts. Someone had crossed out one face with thick black marker. Underneath it, in shaky handwriting, "Elliot Harper, absent." "It's probably a joke," I muttered. "Urban legend crap." But I didn't believe myself. A deep bell rang again, louder than before. It shook the walls and vibrated in my ribs. "All right, we need to leave," Marcy said. "This isn't funny anymore." Jace nodded, for once not cracking jokes. We climbed off the stage and walked fast toward the auditorium doors. I reached out and pulled. Nothing. The handle didn't move. It didn't even rattle, like it was welded shut. "You're kidding me," I breathed. Jace pushed against the other side. Still nothing. It stuck. Real stuck. Then the intercom buzzed again. "Doors will remain closed until proper conduct is observed." My heart pounded. I looked around, trying to spot another exit. A fire door, anything. "We need to go back the way we came," I said. We ran back down the aisle. The entrance we came through was gone. I mean literally gone. The window was sealed, not broken anymore. The gym door, boarded over, like we'd never been there. "I don't like this," Marcy said, voice cracking. She backed into a corner. "Something is seriously wrong." I couldn't answer. I was staring up at the speaker. The red light blinked. Then softer than before, almost like it was whispering. "Kayla, did you forget your hall pass?" I dropped my spray can. It clattered on the floor, echoed like a gunshot. This wasn't a haunted house. It wasn't a prank. Something was watching us. We didn't speak for a full minute. We just stood there, flashlights trembling in our hands, waiting to hear that voice again. I kept hoping it would say someone else's name. Anyone's. But the silence was worse. "Kayla," Marcy finally said, barely above a whisper. "That was your name. That voice knew your name." "It can't," I snapped, though I sounded more scared than angry. "There's no way. We didn't tell anyone we were coming. We've never even been here." Jace paced in a tight circle, hands on his head. Okay. We just need to retrace our steps. We came through the gym, right? Maybe there's another exit there. Something we missed. We moved fast this time, sticking together, flashlights constantly sweeping the dark halls. The school felt different now, less like a dead place and more like a throat about to swallow us. We passed classrooms with open doors that hadn't been opened before. Inside, the desks were rearranged, some in perfect rows, some facing the walls. On the way back toward the gym, we passed a stairwell leading down. That wasn't there before. I swear this wasn't here, I muttered. We didn't come this way, Marcy agreed. But Jace was already at the top of the stairs, flashlight aimed down. There's lockers, he said, and more classrooms. Maybe a basement wing? You seriously want to go deeper? I asked, when the building is literally rearranging itself? Before he could answer, the intercom crackled again. Micah Brown, chewing gum in class? A pause. Micah Brown is absent. The sound of children giggling echoed faintly through the hall. We all turned toward the source, but it came from nowhere. From everywhere. Then a loud, echoing slam sounded behind us. We jumped. The stairwell door had shut itself. Jace was already descending. Come on, we stick together. I followed, heart pounding. Marcy hesitated, then joined. The basement smelled worse, wet concrete and something sour, like spoiled milk. We passed rows of lockers, some dented, some covered in stickers. One was open. Inside, taped to the door, was a piece of notebook paper. In red marker, cafeteria duty, Kayla, Jace, Marcy. My stomach flipped. Did someone know we were coming? Marcy asked. Did we post something online or... No, I said. Nothing, not a word. The hallway split at the end. To the left, a door labeled cafeteria. To the right, a sign that said main office. The intercom popped again. Students must report to their assigned stations. This time the voice was sharper, not cheerful anymore, almost annoyed. I don't care what it says, I whispered. We are not going to the cafeteria. That's exactly what it wants. Jace nodded. Main office. If there's any place with maps or phones or whatever, that'd be it. We turned right. The office door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, and we stepped inside. Dusty filing cabinets lined the walls. A few desks, old computers, a bulletin board with yellowing flyers. I scanned for anything helpful, but my flashlight stopped on a row of photos tacked to the wall. Black and white portraits of children, smiling. Each one had a name underneath, and each one had been crossed out in red ink. Micah Brown, Elliot Harper, Marcy read. Her voice trembled. They're all the names it called. I leaned in closer, and that's when I saw the last photo. Still clean, no red ink. My photo, my actual yearbook photo. Senior year, same hairstyle, same hoodie. That's not possible, I breathed. Then the intercom hissed. Kayla, you are not excused. The speaker on the wall sparked. Then all the filing cabinets slammed open at once. The metal drawers burst open with a deafening crash, scattering old papers and warped file folders into the air like dead leaves in a storm. Marcy screamed. I ducked, shielding my face, while Jace grabbed my arm and yanked me back toward the hallway. Go! He shouted. We bolted out of the main office, slamming into the wall of the hallway as we skidded around the corner. The intercom sparked back to life overhead, the voice now distorted, robotic. Cafeteria duty begins. Now. The lights above us flickered to life one by one, faint fluorescence crackling to full brightness in a trail that led exactly to the cafeteria door. Marcy stopped running. It wants us there. It's hurting us. I turned to argue, but the hallway behind us was gone. I don't mean it was blocked. I mean it was just wall now. A flat gray surface where the corridor used to continue. Like the school was closing its fist around us. Jace said nothing. He just opened the cafeteria door. We stepped inside. It was massive. The kind of cafeteria that could seat hundreds. Long metal tables stood in perfect rows, spotless, like they'd just been cleaned. The linoleum floor reflected our flashlights. At the far end, the lunch counter sat dark, its glass panels cracked and smeared. I don't know why we moved forward. Maybe because we had nowhere else to go. Maybe because something pulled us. On the nearest table, 3 trays sat waiting. One had a pile of grayish meat and green slop. The second held some kind of bread or sponge soaked with syrup. The third was empty, but as I stared at it, words formed across its surface, as if written in fog. "Kayla, sit down." "Nope," Jace whispered, backing away. "We are not playing along. This is some kind of nightmare logic. If we follow its rules, we lose." Then we heard it. Shuffling. A door behind the lunch counter creaked open. Something began to walk out. Heavy, wet-sounding footsteps. It was dragging something. I grabbed Marcy's hand. "Don't look. Just move." We turned toward the side exit. Locked. Another. Chained. No windows. The footsteps got closer, now accompanied by wheezing breaths and the distant sound of chewing. Whatever it was hungry. "We have to hide," Marcy said. "Anywhere." We ducked behind a row of tables, hearts hammering. The thing stepped fully into view. It looked like a lunch lady. At least that's what it wore. The hairnet, the apron, the rubber gloves. But its body was swollen, bloated. Seams in its arms, splitting open like sausage casing. Black fluid dripped from under its chin, and it had no eyes. Just a radio speaker, embedded where its face should be. From the speaker, the voice whispered, "Someone is not in their seat." It sniffed the air. We crawled backward slowly, but my foot bumped a tray. It clattered to the floor. The thing turned. Then it charged. I didn't think. I just ran. The exit door across the room flew open with a metallic groan, and I sprinted for it, the others close behind. We passed through into another hallway, this one lined with art projects and kid-sized lockers. The intercom boomed above us. "Warning, Kayla, Jace, Marcy, detention pending." We ran until the hallway turned sharply left and opened into a stairwell leading back up. Jace grabbed the railing. "Back to the main floor. We need to find a window, a door, anything." I paused, breathing hard, looking back. The cafeteria door was closed again, but something had written across it in thick red streaks. "You didn't finish your meal." The stairwell echoed with the sound of our footsteps. I don't even know how we were still moving. My lungs burned, my legs ached. But the thought of that thing in the cafeteria kept me going. We reached the top of the stairs, bursting through a door that should have led back to the gym hallway. But instead, it was a classroom. "No," I said out loud, stepping back. "This isn't right. We went up. We should be near the entrance." "It changed again," Jace muttered. "It keeps changing." Marcy stared at the chalkboard. "Why is there light?" She was right. The classroom was lit by soft morning light, like the sun was shining through the tall windows. But outside, there was no sun. Just an infinite gray fog pressing against the glass. Desks were arranged in perfect rows. A globe sat in the corner, spinning slowly on its own. And on the chalkboard was written, "Detention roster, Kayla, Jace, Marcy. Duration, until corrected." A loud bell rang overhead. Then the door behind us slammed shut. I ran back, yanking on the knob. Nothing. Locked. "Guys," Marcy said, voice shaking. She was staring at one of the desks. A thick folder sat on it. Inside were dozens of sheets of lined paper. Each page was a written confession, sloppy handwriting, some in pencil, some in red ink. I lied to my parents. I stole from the teacher's lounge. I hit a boy at recess and laughed. "What is this?" Jay said, flipping through the pages. "Some kind of punishment record?" Then he stopped. He held up a page and read it aloud. "I let my friend take the blame when it was my fault. I said nothing and watched him cry. He looked pale. 'That's mine,' he said. 'That actually happened. 4th grade. How does it know that?' Before I could answer, the intercom fizzed again. Jace. Confession recorded. 1 demerit removed." We all froze. Then another page slid out from under the pile. It wasn't there before. My name was at the top. Kayla. Graffiti in stairwell. Vandalism. Rebellion. Disruption. I felt cold. "That's not fair," I said out loud. "That's not a real crime. I'm not hurting anyone." The speaker crackled louder. "Excuses noted. Kayla. 2 demerits added." "It wants us to confess," Marcy said. "It's trying to get into our heads. Make us feel guilty. Make us submit." Jace backed toward the door. "Then we don't play the game. We don't give it what it wants." But the classroom door swung open again, and someone walked in. She wore a long gray dress and had her hair in a tight bun. Glasses. No face. Just a smooth surface where features should be, like a blank mannequin. In her hands, she held a long wooden ruler. "Take your seats," the intercom said. We didn't move. The teacher slammed the ruler against a desk. The sound echoed like a gunshot. I panicked, grabbed the nearest desk and shoved it into her. It barely slowed her down. Jace pulled Marcy and shouted, "Window! Now!" We rushed to the far side of the room. I didn't know what we were doing. There was nothing out there but fog, but anything was better than this. The glass shattered under Jace's elbow. A gust of cold wind blasted into the room. "Go," he shouted. "I'll boost you." One by one, we climbed out. I was last. As I turned, the faceless teacher reached for me. I leapt. The fog swallowed us whole. The fall into the fog felt endless. My body tumbled through that thick gray nothing until, all at once, I stopped. Not with a crash, not with pain, just stillness. Like the air itself had caught me. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on a tiled floor. The others were beside me. We were in another hallway. But this one was different. Everything was newer. The floors weren't cracked. The lockers were freshly painted. The fluorescent lights above didn't flicker. They buzzed steadily, humming with too much energy. I sat up. "Where are we?" Jace stood slowly, helping Marcy to her feet. "Same place, just earlier." He pointed to the wall. A sign read, "Welcome back, students. September 1997. Marcy backed away from it. "Number. That's impossible." "I think," Jace said slowly, "this school doesn't just trap people. It remembers them. And maybe we're inside its memory now." We walked down the corridor. Everything felt too crisp, too staged. The air was thick with old floor polish and lunchroom soap. Then the bell rang, and the students appeared. They weren't real. They weren't people. Just echoes. Faded shapes of kids walking the halls, backpacks slung over shoulders, laughing and chattering. Except they didn't notice us, didn't react. They walked through us like mist. "Ghosts," Marcy whispered. "Projections," I said, "like old slideshows, stuck on repeat." The intercom popped. That voice again. But now it was cheerful. "Good morning, Little Pine students. Welcome to another beautiful day of learning." The lights overhead brightened. The hallway darkened at the ends, and we saw it again. The teacher, same gray dress, same faceless head, but now She moved with poise, swaying through the crowd like a queen among shadows. And this time, she was looking for me. "Kayla isn't in her seat," the voice said sweetly. "Kayla must report to the principal's office." I turned to run, but the hallway shifted again. The walls stretched, then twisted, forming into a narrowing tunnel. The floor began to tilt. The lockers rippled like waves. "This place is collapsing," Jace shouted. "Or transforming," I said, my voice breaking. "It's pulling us into the center." We stumbled through a set of double doors that led to what should have been the library. But instead, we stood in a huge circular room with no books. Just mirrors. Hundreds of tall mirrors, reflecting endless versions of us. Each one moved differently. In one, I was still falling. In another, I sat in a classroom alone, scribbling words I couldn't read. And in the center mirror, I stood at a chalkboard, writing, "Kayla, not excused." I turned to leave, but the room had no doors anymore. And one of the mirrors moved. Not the reflection, the glass itself. It bent inward, like something was coming through. Cracks spiderwebbed across its surface. Then a pale, gloved hand pushed out. "Run!" I screamed. Too late. The faceless teacher stepped out, dragging a metal chair with her. Behind her, the speaker voice bled from her chest, louder now. "Final period. Attendance is mandatory." I threw the closest thing I could, a broken shard of glass, but it phased right through her. Jace grabbed a metal stand and swung, buying us seconds. Marcy kicked over a mirror, shattering it into fog. I grabbed both their hands. "We go down. There has to be a basement, a route, an exit." They didn't question me. We turned and dove through the nearest mirror, not into glass, but into darkness, like falling again. The voice followed us. "Kayla is not excused. Not now. Not ever." We landed on wet cement. A dim bulb buzzed above. Pipes dripped. We were underground, at last. And in front of us, a final staircase leading deeper, painted across the steps in red. Principal's office. The air thickened as we took our first steps down the staircase. It wasn't just dust. It felt like breathing in forgotten memories, old secrets, shame. The kind of air that sticks to your ribs. Each step creaked, though the stairs were made of concrete. As if the school itself wanted to remind us, "You're still here." Jace's hand gripped mine tighter the deeper we went. Behind us, Marcy wiped her sleeve across her face, smearing dirt and tears. We were all breaking, all unraveling, but we kept moving. At the bottom was a wooden door, freshly painted. Principal's office. Underneath it, written in that same red ink, or maybe blood, "Kayla is not excused." My stomach twisted. My ears rang. I pushed the door open. Inside was a single chair in the center of a massive room. The walls curved upward into a dome that went so high I couldn't see the top. Desks hovered in midair. Chalkboards rotated slowly around us. Papers fell from nowhere, fluttering like dead leaves. And on the chair sat me. Not exactly. A version of me. My same hoodie, same hair, but her eyes were blank, and her mouth was stretched in a wide, forced smile. "Attendance noted," the figure said. The intercom was built into its chest now, wires running from its shoulders into the ceiling. I stepped forward. "What do you want from us?" The copy of me stood up, tilting her head like a broken doll. "You misbehaved," she said. "You broke rules, skipped class, defaced your environment, refused confession." "You were abandoned," Marcy whispered. "This place, they just shut it down. Left everything running. You became it." The false Kayla grinned wider. "Order must be maintained. If students leave, they must be excused. You were never excused." Suddenly the room began to hum. Loud, louder, until it vibrated our bones. Every floating desk spun faster. The faceless teacher emerged from a dark corner, dragging her ruler. The intercom voice boomed from the walls, floor, and sky. Final notice. Absence will not be tolerated. Jace screamed, "We're not students. We don't belong here." But the entity didn't care. The doppelganger rushed at me. I dodged, just barely. Her hand grazed my shoulder, and I felt my memories flicker. My brother's face, my mom's laugh, a mural I painted last summer, all blinking in and out. She was trying to overwrite me. "It's your name," Marcy cried. "That's the key. This place is obsessed with names, with records. You have to erase yourself." I pulled out my marker, the one I always kept in my hoodie pocket, the same one I used to tag the stairwell. I ran to the wall and scrawled over the message in red. "Kayla is not excused." I crossed it out and wrote, "Kayla, absent, withdrawn, graduated." The room convulsed. Sparks rained down from above. The intercom hissed, stuttered, then screamed. The doppelganger clutched her head, glitching like a broken video. The faceless teacher froze mid-step, her ruler dropping with a hollow clack. "You can't keep me here," I said. The mirrors shattered. The desks fell. Everything cracked and unraveled like a rotting film reel. I felt Marcy and